It's a Tuesday, and I'm Chris Hall from UGA Football News on Facebook and Instagram. Good to have you along with us as we come in for a little Tuesday night dog talk. And we have a stack of stuff here to talk about the University of Georgia, specifically our football team. I know, it's what 70 something days away from the first game, and but listen, we're ready to go for UGA football, and so we have some information for you, just some stuff, a potpourri of stuff that we thought we would jump in here and talk about tonight. It continues to be hot in South Georgia. I um I live below the Nat line now. For you guys who live in different parts of the country, and even we have folks who tune in even around the world. For you folks, you may not know what South Georgia gnats are like. Well, they make us very friendly. We have to do this constantly, because they love to just buzz around you and all that kind of thing. They really don't bite you. There is a species of gnats down in southeast Georgia, down where Stetson Bennett is from. There's a species of gnats now. They'll get you. They call them no-see-ums because they're so tiny you can't see them, but the things will sting you and bite you and all that kind of stuff. But the gnats we have around where I live, they're just aggravators. They just aggravate you and get in your face and buzz you and all that kind of thing. And when it's hot like this, today where we are, the actual temperature was like 101. And then you add in, the humidity and all that kind of razzmatazz, and you have a heat index of 105 to 110. And so the gnats just enjoy the hot weather and they enjoy attacking you when you go when you go outside, and you have to shoosh them away and all that kind of thing. So anyway, but yeah, it's hot. It's hot in South Georgia. It's hot everywhere. What is today? Today is the first day of summer, correct? Yes. Today is the summer solstice, which means that there are more daylight hours today than there are any other day of the year. So we're at the summer solstice. First day of summer. Hello, how you doing summertime? And now from now on, the days will begin to get a little shorter, if I remember my schooling correctly on that kind of thing. So anyway, we're counting down the day. We're counting down the days. We're at the top of the mountain for summer, and now we're headed down toward fall. And we're 70 something days away from Georgia and Oregon kicking off. So, but it's good to have you with us. And we're going to talk a little bit about UGA football. You can never get enough of UGA football, especially when you're the defending national champions. Hello, Mickey Wilbanks and Deborah K. Atkinson McQueen. How you doing? Go Dogs. I agree with you. Go Dogs. So let's get into what we have to talk about tonight. I don't bet. I don't do that kind of thing. It's not. I don't do that. But Caesar's Sports Book out of Las Vegas. They put out their thing. They just released their you know their their odds of who's going to win in the SEC. Okay. And they do it like Southeast, the Eastern Division and the Western Division. Can you guys address anything related to NIL? Um, yes, Ron Kiefer asked us a question about NIL and how it's impacting recruiting. I tell you what, a lot of that is under the radar, to be honest with you. A lot of that is not being talked about. What is happening is a lot of these colleges now have what they call collectives where you got this group that comes together and they kind of bundled together NIL money, I guess, or endorsements. And by the way, if someone wants to know what NIL stands for, it's name, image, and likeness. So a player now can profit off of his name, his image, or his likeness. If somebody wants to pay him to sign autographs, he can make money off of that. If somebody wants to take his picture and make a poster and, then he can profit off of that. So name, image, and likeness. And so the schools have these collectives, and these collectives work to bundle up money, and then they, go to the I guess coaches or what I think they're allowed to go to work with the administration in some states. It differs from state to state, to be honest with you. And they let it be known that if this recruit will come to this school, then they can, package together something in which they can profit off of their name, image, and likeness. And so it's not an even process, to be honest with you. It differs from each state has different kind of rules about this and laws and legislation about this. So, a lot of, for instance, Texas A&M got a lot of oil money, and they've got a big collective with a lot of money that they can offer, and that's just the truth. That's not sniping at Texas A&M. Tennessee, University of Tennessee, the Tennessee supporters, they've got a big collective. Florida and Georgia too, University of Georgia as well, and it's all within the rules now. It's all within the rules now, and so the NIL is impacting recruiting. I think it's probably going to be like we're in a period when it makes a big impact, and then it's going to settle down, and it's going to settle down. And I think your major programs are going to continue to be major programs. Alabama's going to continue to recruit at a high level. The University of Georgia is on fire with its recruiting. I just, everyone I talk to about the NIL, they have differing opinions on the effect of it. It's there. It's a part of the landscape now. Colleges are adapting according to the rules that they can adapt under in their particular state. I don't. It's a state by state thing. Legislatures and different states do this. So anyway, so NIL, it's here to stay. It's not going to go back. The genie's not going to go back in the bottle, and so we're going to have to see how it shakes out. So yeah, if Arch Manning, we'll talk a little bit about Arch in just a minute, in a few minutes on our program. But Arch Manning is projected to have a NIL value of $3.1 million. In other words, wherever he goes to college, over the course of the time that he is at that college, he is projected to earn from his name, image, or likeness $3.1 million beside going to school. Boom. So there you things are not the way they used to be in college football, certainly not. And the motivating factor behind all of this, interestingly enough, was the pandemic. And then the NCAA gave an extra year of eligibility to players because of the pandemic, and then the transfer portal came open, and the rules for that changed, and a lot of it, the COVID-19 pandemic had a tremendous impact on college football. But, that's what I know about it, and, we'll just have to wait and see. I try to talk to experts about it, or people who, I think would be in the knowledge or in the know about it, and that's some of what they tell me. So there you go. All right, so anyway, Caesars Sportsbook, has set win totals for every SEC team so far. And, it's a guiding thing for if you want to bet and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so here's what they say. Caesar Sportsbook says Alabama's going to win 11 games, and that's their projection. Here's the schedule for Alabama, by the way. Utah State, that's the opening game in Birmingham. Then they'll go to Texas and in Austin and take on the University of Texas. UL Monroe will come to Tuscaloosa, followed by Vanderbilt coming to Alabama. Then Alabama will travel to Arkansas. Now I don't know how much a game Texas is actually going to give Alabama. Could be they're in Austin. It could be. But Alabama, right now, big favorite in all their games, and that would include Texas. The game that will be interesting is when Alabama goes to Arkansas, because you might remember Arkansas gave Alabama everything they could hold on to last year when Alabama came to Tuscaloosa to play or Arkansas came to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. Arkansas was just almost on the brink of pulling the upset. Then, of course, that big game with Texas A&M. That'll be an interesting game. That'll be an interesting game. Alabama and Texas A&M with the thing going on between Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban. Then Alabama travels to Tennessee. Um, Mississippi State comes calling to Tuscaloosa. After that, Alabama will travel to LSU. That will be an interesting game. It probably will be under the lights in Baton Rouge. So that's interesting. The following week, Alabama will go to Ole Miss, to Oxford, Mississippi, to take on Ole Miss. Then Alabama gets a breather with Austin Peay. And then, of course, they'll finish up the season with Auburn. So anyway, Caesars Sportsbook says Alabama's going to win all their games. Arkansas, according to their projections, will win 7 games, beating Cincinnati, South Carolina, Missouri State. Texas. Well, Caesar Sportsbook says Arkansas will beat Texas A&M. Huh. That'll be interesting. That'll be a good game. Liberty College or Liberty University, LSU, Ole Miss, and Missouri, and they project Arkansas losing. Well, see, they got this messed up, right? Oh no, they don't. Yeah, they project Arkansas losing to Alabama, Mississippi State, Brigham Young University, and Auburn. Caesar Sportsbook says Auburn will win 6 games, Florida 7 games. Then that bunch has Georgia winning 11 and a half games. How do you win 11? Oh, that's the odds. Oh, I got you. Anyway, Caesar Sportsbook has Georgia going undefeated. And we'll talk about the schedule for Georgia shortly. Kentucky 8.5 games, and that's a betting kind of thing. I don't know what it means when you have a half a game, but it's a betting thing. LSU 7 wins, Mississippi State 6.5 wins, Missouri 5 wins, Ole Miss 7.5 wins. They have South Carolina projected to win 6 games. And then they have Tennessee 7 games, Texas A&M 8 games. Let's see, Vanderbilt 2 games. Caesar Sportsbook says Vanderbilt will beat Hawaii and Elon College, and they'll lose to every other team. Vanderbilt will play Wake Forest, Northern Illinois. Well, let's give them that game too. Let's give them 3 games. Vanderbilt, they should beat Northern Illinois. And that's about it. So anyway, I'm a Vanderbilt guy. I want Vanderbilt to come back to relevancy. Have they ever been relevant? They were, before World War II. Vanderbilt probably had the best SEC football game. They won a lot of games before World War II in the Southeastern Conference. Hadn't been too good since then. It's been a great week. It's been a great week in recruiting for the University of Georgia. Georgia has done really well. There are now 12 commitments in the 2023 class. 12 commitments in the 2023 class for the University of Georgia. They Georgia is at number 3, according to 247sports.com, as far as the recruiting class is concerned. They rank recruiting classes. They have Notre Dame number 1, Texas Tech number 2, and now Georgia, I think, number 3. Georgia received a big commitment from CJ Allen. He's a linebacker. He's from Georgia, and he made a commitment to the University of Georgia. And let's see. Here we have Pierce Sperlin, a tight end, is in that 2023 class. CJ Allen, a linebacker. Raymond Cottrell, a wide receiver. Bo Hewley, an offensive lineman. Requise McKeldry, offensive lineman. Lawson Lucky, a tight end. Gabriel Harris, an outside linebacker. Joshua Miller, the Joshua Miller is the excuse me, the offensive lineman who was committed to Penn State. He's from Pennsylvania. He's committed to Penn State, and then he's flipped to Georgia. Big get, huge man, 6'5", whatever the thing is, he is, and he can dunk a basketball like crazy. So very athletic. AJ Harris, defensive back, Justin Rhett, a defensive back, and Peyton Woodring, who is a place kicker. He's like, I guess, the number one rated, high school place kicker in the country. He's out of where's he from? Louisiana, isn't it Louisiana? And anyway, he's a 5-star. He's a 5-star kicker. He's a 5-star kicker, place kicker. So, so the 2023 class for the University of Georgia is coming around pretty good, looking pretty good. And at the beginning of the week, Georgia was like number 10 in the rankings for the 2023 class. You know how they had 247 Sports, Rivals.com. They do these rankings, and they, have this formula, 3 stars and 4 stars, 5 stars, that kind of thing. And then they say, well, this is the best team, recruiting class and that kind of thing. And Georgia now is number 3. And Georgia's always up there. I mean, it's either 1, 2, or 3, or 4. So 2023 looking pretty good. We'll talk about Arch Manning in just a moment. Everybody wants to know about Arch Manning. We'll have a little Arch Manning news as well. This is the time of the year when you go to the grocery store and you begin to see these magazines, these sports magazines with their previews of the college football season and professional football season. It's the time of the year. It's the talking season. And one of the best magazines that you can pick up at the and a lot of magazines are gone now. They're just all online, but Athlon Sports still puts out a great college football preview magazine. And so here, and they always do their projections of who's gonna, who's gonna win, and and they give a projection on the record of the teams, and they have pretty good track record, really pretty good track record. So anyway, Athlon has put out its SEC rankings and projections. This is what they say. Athlon Sports says is going to happen in the SEC. In the SEC East, they have Georgia winning the SEC East with a 12-1 record. The one loss coming, according to Athlon, in the SEC championship game against Alabama. But they do project the Bulldogs to make the college football playoffs, much like last year. Georgia lost the SEC championship game, made it into the playoffs, and won the national championship. Can we ever say that too often? So Athlon says Georgia will have a 12-1 record, and then they have Tennessee at 8-4, 4-4 in the SEC. Then they have Kentucky at 8-4 as well, followed by Florida 7-5, South Carolina 6-6, Missouri 5-7, and Vanderbilt 3-9. So they give Vanderbilt the win over Northern Illinois, right? Just like I wanted to do. There you go. So that's how, according to Athlon Sports, how the SEC East is. Yes, sir, Scotty. We agree with you. Go national champion Bulldogs, indeed. So Athlon says that's how the SEC East is going to pan out. The SEC West, they have out. By the way, these, the East and the West is going to be gone pretty soon, and there's just going to be the SEC. And, we have Texas and Oklahoma coming into the conference in 2025, maybe earlier than that, if they can work it out. So there's got to be a lot of changes as far as the schedule is concerned. And the projection is the SEC East and West and conferences and nothing like that, they're going to be gone. And they'll work out a formula who's going to be in the championship game. There still will be an SEC championship game, because, it's money. That generates a tremendous amount of money. So anyway, all right. So here's what Athlon says in the SEC West: Alabama 13-0, winning the SEC championship game. Texas A&M follows Alabama. Athlon says they'll go 10-2. Arkansas then 8-4. LSU at 8-4. Ole Miss 8-4. Mississippi State 7-5, and Auburn at 6-6, according to Athlon Sports. And it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. It's just projections, but it's a lot of fun to talk about. And and it's a way to sell it's a way to sell a magazine. Athlon Sports is pretty good. It's a pretty good magazine. I don't have any stock in it, but it's a pretty good magazine to pick up, and it'll give you a lot of information. If you're a college football guy who's really into it, you know, I don't want to use the word junkie because I don't like that word, but if you're really into it, in college football, Athlon, the Athlon magazine's a good one to get. Let's see, who we have here. What is this? Oh, that's Sporting News? No, Sports Illustrated. Okay. Top players in the SEC. No, that's CBS Sports. I see it now. I can see it now. CBS Sports projects the top players in the SEC heading into the 2022 season. They actually had 25 of them, 25 of them. But I didn't care about the other ones. I care about Georgia. So, so I just look for the guy. Yeah, we just look for the guys from Georgia in the CBS, posting of the top players in the SEC heading into the 2022 season. They have number 6, the sixth top player in the SEC, Brock Bowers. I don't know. Okay. Keely Ringo at number 4. Jalen Carter, number 3. In the top players in the SEC heading into the 2022 season. Bryce Young, Alabama quarterback, number 2. Will Anderson, the defensive, what is he, a linebacker? Linebacker for the University of Alabama, is the top player, according to CBS Sports, in the SEC heading into the 2022 season. He is a monster. He's something. So there you go. You got Brock Bowers, Keely Ringo, and Jalen Carter on that list. No other Bulldogs on the list, by the way. Just 3 out of the, but it is a big conference. Let's see what we got here. Future power rankings. Is that a thing? Oh, ESPN. Okay. ESPN has put out its future power rankings. And here's why they did. And this can tell you that, boy, we are really in the off season. We're really in the off season. ESPN did this thing where they looked forward to the next 3 years, the top college football programs for the next 3 years. They said, now which programs are going to be the top programs for the next 3 years? They call it the future power rankings. So which programs are going to be the best next 3 years? Alabama, number 1. It's recruiting, and recruiting. Remember that, when we had the election and the slogan was, it's the economy. Well, when it comes to college football, it's recruiting. It is recruiting. So according to ESPN, Alabama, the next 3 years, is going to be the top program, followed by Georgia. They have Georgia at number 2. Ohio State, number 3. And then Texas A&M, number 4. So ESPN giving a little love to Texas A&M, trending in the right direction, according to ESPN. And so they project that Texas A&M will be one of the top programs for the next 3 years. Number 5 on the list is Clemson. People kind of have forgotten a little bit about Clemson. All the buzz about Georgia, rightfully so, and Alabama, Texas A&M, and all that kind of stuff. But Clemson still has a pretty good roster, pretty good program, pretty good coach, and Dabo Swinney. And so you can't count Clemson out, and they know how to win. So anyway, so that is according to ESPN, the top 3 programs top 5 programs for the next 3 years in college football. So there you go. Stetson Bennett, seriously, people are still doubting Stetson Bennett. He won the national championship. He was the quarterback of the national championship team. And many people are still kind of doubting him and saying, we need a 5-star on our quarterback. We got all them 5 stars sitting on the bench, you know. I know I shouldn't do that. But anyway, Stetson Bennett got a little love, well deserved. He has been, he's one of 45 college quarterbacks invited to the Manning Passing Academy. Begins Thursday at Nichols State University in Thibodaux, Louisiana. Thibodaux, Louisiana. The annual camp is hosted by the Manning family. Yes, that family. Peyton and Eli. And others out of the Manning family. And here's what they do. The college quarterbacks are invited to serve as counselors for high school quarterbacks. They bring in all these high school quarterbacks from around the nation to the Manning quarterback, you know, passing academy. And then they take the college quarterbacks, and the college quarterbacks act as counselors for the high school quarterbacks that are invited in. So Stetson Bennett is one of the quarterbacks that's been invited to participate. You have 45 college quarterbacks. They get to hang out together, and they're going to have a skills competition on Friday night. I'd love to see that. Bennett and Will Levis from Kentucky, Spencer Rattler, South Carolina, Bryce Young of Alabama, Hendon Hooker of Tennessee, and all these other guys. They're going to have some contests. They'll compete in a series of drills to gauge their accuracy, arm strength, and route throwing versatility. So that'd be interesting to watch. Stetson Bennett has been invited. Hey, he's going to get a lot of attention. He led his team to a national championship. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is a significant achievement. Here's what Archie Manning had to say about it. He said, we have a really good group this year. He said, I usually cut it off at 40 counselors, but we had so many guys that wanted to come this year, I couldn't say no, according to Peyton Manning. He said, I'm getting to be a softie. Of course, Manning, and this is Archie Manning now. This is Archie, not Peyton. Yeah, this is Archie Manning who said that. So he's the founder, co-founder of the camp. So Archie Manning is the grandfather of 5-star quarterback Arch Manning. So there you go. So Stetson Bennett will be at the what? I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying my best. Stetson Bennett will be at the Manning Passing Academy or camp or something like that. There you go. So here, okay, everybody wants to know, what about Arch Manning? What about Arch Manning? And you say, what's the big deal? I mean, is he everything that he's hyped up to be? Arch Manning, the quarterback from Isidore Newman School in Nowlands, Louisiana. He's a rising senior. He's the number one recruit in the 2023 class. Well, this is a little indication of how good this dude is. 247 Sports has what they call a composite ranking, in which they rank players according to their position and their ability and things like that. They call it the composite rankings. Arch Manning has a perfect 1,000 score in the composite rankings. His ability, his ability, his acuity, mental acuity. He's earned a perfect score. Only 3 quarterbacks have ever earned a perfect score in the 247 Sports composite rankings. Vince Young and Quinn Ewers, recruited the University of Texas, are the other 2. So here's the latest on Arch Manning. All right, it's down to this: Georgia, Texas, and Alabama. Basically, it's down to those 3 schools. Unless some school comes out of nowhere and Arch Manning falls in love with some school other than those three, those are the three: Georgia, Texas, Alabama. Arch went to Alabama on June the 10th. According to the reports, he had a good visit. He also visited Alabama on May 24th and May 9th, April 2nd, October 2nd of 2021, September 28th of 2021, and June 19th of 2021. So he's gone to Alabama several times. Okay. Says he likes Alabama. They're a machine. He likes Alabama. Arch Manning has come to Georgia, visited Georgia June 13th. June the 7th. He had a great trip, according to his high school coach at Georgia. June the 3rd, March 19th, May the 9th, September 18th, 2021, June 24th, 2021. So Arch Manning has gone to Georgia several times. And he said this on one occasion. He said, I love Coach Kirby Smart. He's a real normal guy, a great coach. Georgia, the takeaway from practice there is that they have athletes all over the field, especially on the defensive line. They have some studs, and it shows. They had 15 players drafted. Athens is probably the best college town I've ever been to, according to Arch Manning. The coaches are all good people. They know how to win, know what it takes, and it was cool seeing that. So that's the history with Arch Manning and Georgia. Texas, June 19th. Manning made a visit to Texas this past weekend. And something interesting happened. A little concerning if you're a Georgia fan. Manning's teammate, 3-star tight end Will Randall, committed to Texas over the weekend. So will that influence Arch Manning's decision? If his teammate, Will Randall, has committed to Texas. Manning went to, Manning went to Texas June 17th. And May the 9th, he was there. March 24th, and then June 12th, 2021. So that's a little history of Arch Manning visiting the different schools. So there you go. It's kind of up in the air. And, the speculation is that I think he wants to make his decision before the beginning of the coming high school football season. That he wants to get that made and get it out of the way so that he can concentrate on his senior season at Isidore Newman High School. They did not win the state championship. In fact, Isidore Newman has never won a state championship in football in the state of Louisiana. And Arch Manning wants to lead his team to win the state championship. So he wants to get all this out of the way. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up what we have for you tonight. It's things are happening, things are going on, and there you go. Now we had a good conversation with Orson Charles. He played for the University of Georgia back some years ago, 2009 to 2012. We'll be posting that up pretty soon. And he had some interesting things to say about the state of college football these days. And so we'll be putting that up. But hey, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. It's always good to be with you to talk a little bit about University of Georgia football. Right now, it's about recruiting, and it's about the guys, doing their individual workouts. Summer workouts, will start, and then you move down into the fall. 70 something days away. 7 today or something like that. Well, happy summer solstice to you. Enjoy the daylight hours today. The sun will go down at about midnight, probably for some of you, but it's been a good day. Thank you for being with us. And of course, we always close our program with this exclamation point.